Right, welcome to my commentary on my interactive magazine. So first off, I'll begin talking through file compressions and formats. So for this project, I mainly used the PSD file format, which is Adobe Photoshop Images. That's for obviously Photoshop files. And then there is InDesign, InDesign document, or shortened as INDD. This is obviously used a lot because that's why I keep all my magazines. No brainer there. And then lastly, the Adobe file format I use the most is the Illustrator file, AI. So this is mostly used for vector images that I have in the magazine, which is pretty much the majority of the magazine. Other formats include JPEGs, which is a lossy compressioned image file. It's good for detailed images, whereas PNGs are better for translucent images or those without backgrounds, or just simply images with just simple colors, so not too many complex gradients or shading. Lastly, you can't see it here, is the PDF format. That's for exporting your magazine as a PDF file, so it can be viewed on more devices. It wouldn't have all the interactive elements, but it would work on more devices. So yeah, that's file formats and compressions. Now I'm going to move on to vector images and bitmap images. Now what are these two? Okay, vector images, as I previously mentioned, I use a lot in this. It's basically the image format in Illustrator, and what it is just a bunch of mathematical expressions. Now what the heck is that, you ask? It's the X and Y's you see in your math books, but it's used to describe the lines, points, polygons and curves. Now this is what makes up a vector image, a load of math. Lovely. But what this means is that the computer can recalculate the size every time, so you can enlarge vector images quite easily and then it would not lose quality. Bitmap, on the other hand, is made up of little dots called pixels. So the higher the number of pixels, or image resolution as it is known, the more detailed and sharper the image. And GIF, JPEG, PNG are all bitmap images. And this is also the format that images are in Photoshop. Okay, so now enough talk about all the technicalities, and let's get on with how I made some elements of my magazine. For the assets, for complex drawings I usually scan in a sketch. So for example, this drawing of Pitt here was originally a hand-drawn sketch. Let me show you. As you can see here, it was originally a sketch, and I scanned it in, put it into Illustrator, and then started tracing it with a pen tool. And that was how this was made, essentially. Okay, let me just undo that. And for majority of the graphics, I did it in this way. So this warrior was also originally a sketch, which I scanned in. As for the workflow, where I always keep InDesign, Illustrator and Photoshop open nearly at all times. For vector graphics, so Illustrator graphics, I usually just copy and paste the graphic I want into the InDesign document. So Control C or Command C, depending on whether you're Mac or PC, and then Command V, paste. Might take a while. Computer's being slow today. Here we go. And then that's how I place my Illustrator files into InDesign. Easy peasy. In Photoshop, where I usually create the image editing effects. So for example, sometimes I take a logo from the internet and then give it a color overlay so it fits with the style of the magazine. Or where sometimes I use it for pixel art. Photoshop is extremely good for pixel art as it is a bitmap software package. So that's what I use it for, and I usually save it for web and devices. In this case, the pixel art, I will save it as a PNG because I want the transparency. As for the emblem, sometimes I save it as a PNG as well, since the colors are simple, so I don't need to save it as a JPEG. That would be more suitable for photographs. And I would place them in InDesign with Control D or Command D, which is place, and then you just choose whichever one you want. And that's how the workflow. That's how I manage my workflow mostly. Now, as for storage, I had to store all my assets in Google Drive, which is a lovely cloud storage solution, and I think you should all try it. I keep everything in folders, well, as many things as I can in folders. So images go in the image section, music goes in the music section, and any other different kinds of assets. But what's important and that you should remember when you're dealing with InDesign and the folio builder, which is over here. The folio builder is simply what you use to create your magazine in. So you click on Add New Folio, title your magazine, select everything you want, import the covers and whatnot. Make sure you select horizontal and vertical. And then to import the article, you have to make sure, this is the part where the file naming is really important. Now, when you import an article, make sure you import a folder where the articles are all contained inside, and then they have to be named _v or _h and _h. So each article has to be two separate files, one file for the vertical version and one file for the horizontal version, and they have to be contained in this folder, and that's what you will import in when you click on this. Yeah, so something along those lines. And once you imported that article, you can then preview it on the Adobe Content Viewer. You can do this via the desktop. But yes, you can preview this on both the desktop and on your iPad. So this is a very useful preview tool that Adobe came up with, designed just for digital magazines. Right, this is the Adobe Content Viewer, which you will be using to preview your work on both your iPad and your PC or Mac or whatever it is that you use. I can't show you a preview on my laptop right now because of technical difficulties, but you know, this works, trust me. To share your articles and magazine, you just have to go to this icon here in the folio builder, the one with the arrow and the lines, and then go down here to share, and then you type in your the person you want to share with, her or his email address here, and make sure that they have Folio Builder and InDesign and all the required software / hardware to view the magazine files, otherwise it wouldn't work. But that's really how you just share, and that's about it. Thank you very much for listening to my commentary. It had some jagged edges, but we got there in the end.